Hey, good afternoon. Sorry, it's a couple minutes past 2. Wanted to give everyone a few extra minutes to join on. Thank you so much for being here today, and welcome to our Business Academy TriShare Childcare program. We're so happy to have you here today and to have our esteemed panelists. As many of you know, the Chamber is a staunch advocate for the need for accessible childcare, and this is a piece of that puzzle. A lot of our initiatives have been led by Brian Dayton. He's also on the call in the childcare space. So we're here to answer any questions, but really the main goal is just to hand these over to the experts of the TriShare childcare program. So we want to thank Wonderschool, Augie Gray Drake, and Fort Hill Child Development Center for being with us here today. We will be doing Q&A at the end of the webinar. So you can put your questions in the Q&A or in the chat, and we will be answering them. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Jason. Thanks for being here.
Ellen, thank you. It is great to be here, and we've had the benefit now of working with the Chamber for a handful of months, and you guys continue to be an exceptional partner. So really appreciated. I'm going to share my screen. I'm joined by a number of great colleagues. So let me just get us up and running. Of course, we have to find the exact thing that we are sharing. So over the next 45 minutes, we're going to be talking to you about West Virginia's new TriShare childcare program. I think you will find this to be interesting. This is an innovative model about making childcare more accessible because it splits the costs among employees, employers, and the state of West Virginia. And we're going to walk you through how all of this works. This is an initiative that was created in partnership with Wonderschool and the West Virginia Small Business Development Center, which is part of the Office of Economic Development. And they received what's called an ARC Power Grant, which is how Wonderschool came to work in West Virginia and is helping to make people aware of TriShare. In addition to the Chamber and ARC, there are a number of partners in the state that have been just incredible with helping to spread the word and sharing this with employers, and we thank each and every one of them. So I'm going to ask my colleagues to come off mute, and I'm going to introduce each of them. Again, my name is Jason Moss. I work at Wonderschool. I'm the head of new government initiatives, and the TriShare work we're doing is one such new initiative that I'm involved in. Marcus?
Good afternoon, everybody. Marcus Keach, also work for Wonderschool. My role is government relations and TriShare partnerships. Pleased to be part of the team to do the delivering of this program. A little bit of quick background of myself. My former life, I worked in the Chamber world as a government affairs director in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I oversaw the education workforce development policy and ran the state level advocacy. And then even before that, worked in the legislature in Michigan and the original architect of the original TriShare program in Michigan. So please be on the call and help spread the word.
Thank you, Marcus. Scott?
Hey folks, Scott Drake, partner over at Augie Gray Drake Collective Works. Probably know many of you folks from years in past, or at least crossing the halls of the annual chamber meeting. Lifelong resident here in Charleston, and recently signed up to the TriShare program, and eager to tell you why I did that and how it's going.
Thank you, Scott. Jamie?
Hi, I'm Jamie Gager, and I am one of the owners, directors, and business manager at Fort Hill Child Development Center. We are a family-owned business and have been around for 36 years. We love what we do, and we are super excited to be part of this TriShare program, not only as an employer, but also, we also have clients who are going to be participating in this, mainly our employees. So that's great. And then we're also on the childcare end of it. So we kind of see the win-win-win situation in this, and we're super excited to share why we're a part of this.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, so we're gonna start, and I'm gonna turn it over to my colleague Marcus, because we want to start by really talking about why there is such a need for childcare investment and why specifically in West Virginia. Marcus?
Thank you, Jason. And as Jason just mentioned, obviously we want to spend most of this time talking about the TRISHARE program and how this can benefit you as an employer. But before we do that, we need to talk about the negative, or I should say the where we're at now situation. And so, as many of you know, in West Virginia ranks 50th in the country for workforce participation at 54.3%. And not just is it at 50, but the rest of the country is continuously outpacing West Virginia as well. And so we have a quote here from Governor Morrissey that really is highlighting that work is needing to be done to get more employees in the workforce. Next slide. And then also we look at some of the numbers behind why it's actually not financially beneficial to not get involved. Why getting involved with your financial resources actually will allow you a return on investment. And so we have seen through surveys across the country that 1 in 5 U.S. workers have left their job because of their employer didn't provide adequate childcare benefits. The U.S. Chamber Foundation actually surveys individuals across the country and has found that 7% of those that have been surveyed in those states that they've surveyed intend to leave the workforce in the next 12 months, specifically due to childcare affordability and accessibility. That's captured in what's called the untapped potential reports in various states. And then we can also look at what that cost to employers actually is when that employee leaves the workforce. And depending on the level of that employee, whether it's an entry-level employee, the cost of turnover is roughly 50% of their salary, up to 150% for mid-level employees, and then obviously significantly higher even for your upper tier level employees. And so without reliable and affordable options, many parents are forced to reduce their hours, which also in those surveys, it shows that how many people have potentially or have changed their hours as well in the last 12 months. And then really the dollar figure is it can cost an employer more than $16,000 at a minimum for every employee that leaves the workforce. And that has a direct correlation of more than $460 million in West Virginia of lost earnings and productivity. And I want to turn it back over to Jason to explain a little bit of a deeper dive on the TRISHARE program.
I think you might do one more, Marcus, just given your personal role in bringing TRISHARE to the United States.
Yeah, perfect. Can definitely do that. And so, as I introduced myself earlier, was honored to be the lead staff in the legislature that wrote the original program in Michigan. The TRISHARE program launched in Michigan in 2021. Actually wrote the program in 2019, but through the pandemic took a little bit to implement. That was done through a pilot program in 3 counties in the state. And now, since then, in the last 4.5 years, we've seen the TRISHARE program in Michigan be no longer considered a pilot. It is statewide and has increased the budget to $3.5 million. In Kentucky, they launched their version of a TRISHARE program, a little bit different in Michigan, more modeled similar to what we have here in West Virginia. That rolled out in 2023 as a pilot and now is considered statewide at the current date. North Carolina, we saw they launched their pilot in 3 regions as well in 2024, and in the last year have announced that their program is now statewide as well. And then as we see in West Virginia launching the pilot in 8 counties here in 2025. And so just really quick, what we want to highlight, and I know this will be a question later on too, is what that path looks like. And as we can see in those 3 other state examples, it starts as a pilot in counties, but then goes statewide. And so I want to make that very clear that this is just the first step of what TRISHARE can be in West Virginia.
Great. Thank you, Marcus. So let's get into really kind of what this is actually going to look like in West Virginia. It is a pilot, and it's in 8 counties. And so you can see the 8 there, Wirt, Jackson, Mason, Roane, Putnam, Lincoln, Boone, and Kanawha. And for an employer to participate, because everything starts with the employer's decision to participate in TRISHARE, they must conduct business in one of those 8 counties. That is really the only level of eligibility. It doesn't matter where your employees work. It doesn't matter where your employees live. It does not matter where the childcare is located. There is nothing here that's intending to require individuals to relocate their childcare to a different county. All of that could truly be anywhere in the state It's just because of the specifics of the ARC grant that employers must operate in one of these 8 counties. And to Marcus's earlier point, it is certainly our hope that as a result of the work that we're doing here in these 8 counties, that this, like North Carolina, like Kentucky, like Michigan, will find itself on the path to being statewide as well. So let's talk about kind of just what TriShare is. We said it makes childcare more affordable because the cost is shared between the employee, the employer, and the state. So at 30,000 feet, this is how that works. You, the employer, make the decision. Everything about TriShare is intended to be very employer friendly. You decide as the employer which employees you want to have participate, and you decide what amount do you want to contribute towards their monthly childcare costs. It can be, there's no floor, there's no ceiling. That is entirely a decision up to you. And the best thing here is it is free as an employer to participate. What that means is that the only cash outlay is whatever you're contributing, which is going directly to support your employee, which is going directly, to providers like Jamie here on the panel. Other than that, it's entirely free to participate. So it starts with your decision. The second piece is the match. The state of West Virginia provides a matching contribution that's based on the employee's household income. And in a second, I'm going to show you a slide that shows you sort of what that looks like. It is not subjective. It is purely determined by what's the contribution the employer makes and what is the employee's household income. I also want to be clear and upfront. The money has already been allocated and it's already been set aside. So there's no question, given challenges West Virginia had, is the money not going to be there? Is it going to be clawed back? The money is here. And so at this point forward, we just want to make sure the money is spent as quickly as possible to support employees with the cost of childcare. That's the goal. Employer makes the decision, they contribute, state does a match, and then the employee pays the remaining balance. And these funds are collected and they're sent every month, same time, to the participating childcare provider. And what this means, if nothing else, is that the employee is now paying less, and that's going to make it that much easier to go to work or to stay on the job. And that's really the intended goal here. So let me speak to how the matching contribution works. What essentially you're looking at is sort of a spectrum of annual household income. If an employee already qualifies for subsidies, so looking at the left side of this chart, that means the state is sort of giving them a hand, and their childcare cost is already going to be lower than what somebody would pay if they're not on subsidies. If they're qualifying for subsidies, that individual is not going to be eligible, and the rationale is because they have a sort of a different form of support. On the right hand of the spectrum, if a family's annual household income is above $151,000 and $151,000, they're not going to be eligible to participate. It's not to suggest that childcare is not a difficult cost, but at that income, it's more manageable. But for everybody sort of in between, really, this is who we want to help. This is who the grant is intended to help, because this can be the difference between somebody choosing to go to work or not choosing to go to work, or really struggling, given the cost of childcare can be the equivalent to the cost of somebody's mortgage. This is who we want to help. And as you can see, depending on the income, the state match is going to range between 50% on the higher side of the income scale to 100% match on the lower side of the income scale. So I'm going to walk through 2 examples just so you can kind of appreciate how this is materially different for an employee. We'll use Linda, who's a purchase manager at a company in Jackson County. She has a 1-year-old. The 1-year-old attends ABC Childcare Center. Her monthly childcare tuition is $550. Her annual household income is $62,000, so she sits squarely within that spectrum I just showed. And her employer has decided they're going to contribute $150 toward that $550 tuition. With TriShare, her new childcare tuition is going to be $265. It's going to go from $550 to $265 for a savings of $285 a month. And if you annualize that, then you can see how, this becomes sort of savings in the thousands of dollars, which is dramatic. We'll take Robert. Again, Robert has a 3-year-old, requires childcare 5 days a week. His tuition slightly higher, $650. His annual household income considerably higher than Linda's, but still well within that spectrum. In this case, Robert's employer is contributing $250. And you can see for Robert, because of the size of his employer's contribution, his new childcare tuition went from $650 to $250, and he's saving $400 a month. So in both cases, both for Linda and Robert, the employer contribution complemented with the state match can really have a tremendous impact on one's ability to afford childcare, and that's what we want to happen here. So the question might be surfacing. So like, how does this actually work? It's 5 steps is what's involved here. As the employer, you opt to enroll, and you contribute the cost towards whichever employees you decide to enroll, and you decide for each of them how much you're going to pay each month. It could be the same, it could be different, it could be a percent of their tuition, all up to you. Part 2, the employee now enrolls. We, Wonderschool, will verify their employment and their income so we can understand what the match is going to be. And the employee says, this is where my child is going to childcare. Great. Step 3, we follow up with the childcare provider. Hey, this is great. Linda's enrolled in Childcare, and she wants this to count towards her tuition at your childcare center. We enroll the childcare provider. We verify that the childcare provider is eligible. What that means is that any provider that is licensed by the state, whether it's a center or whether it's in-home care, whether it's an after-school program or a summer program or daycare program, all of those are going to be eligible to participate anywhere in the state, as long as they're licensed. If the child is going to his grandmother's, that would not count. If the child does baseball after school, that would not count. But as long as it's a licensed provider, they're going to be, by the state, they're going to be eligible. Part 4, we complete all the eligibility verification. We have legal agreements with each party. This is to ensure that no party is liable for any other party. And then we finalize the amounts that each party is going to pay. And then part 5, we set this up with you, the employer. So it's an auto deposit. We collect it the same date every month. And then we take that money coupled with the state's money, which we already have, package it together, and we send it to the provider, same time every month. Any reporting, any documentation, anything that you need for benefits management, we will help you to get. Marcus.
So to kind of tie this back to the slides earlier, we want to talk about, as I mentioned, the ROI side of it as an employer to invest in this. And so what we can also do is look at some of the data that was gathered in Michigan specifically after the first year of the TRISHARE program. There was a survey done by employers and employees, and even providers for that matter, and what that impact was. And what that has shown is that a TRISHARE program has an 81% success rate for talent recruitment, an 80% satisfaction rate for employee retention. And these are employees saying that they are going to stay or highly going to stay in their current position. And then also their employee productivity has increased by 82% as well, now that they don't have to worry about what's happening with their child because they're in a quality childcare location. And so again, to that ROI example, if you as an employer contribute $150 per month, which is $1,800 a year, if that match is by 100% of the state, if the state matches 100% based on that sliding scale, your the employer's ROI is 900% compared to spending that $16,000 that we talked about earlier at the bare minimum to replace that employee. You can kind of do that price compare, $16,000 or $1,800. you can offer in that same savings TriShare to numerous employees within your workforce. And as we said earlier with the chamber or with the US Chamber Foundation's data, 7% of those employees are likely to leave the workforce in the next 12 months. You can start to kind of see how this amount of savings snowballs. And so, and on top of all that, you're reducing your employees' childcare costs by 40%. So it keeps them in the workforce, but it also encourages them to have a higher productivity rate, and it shows that you value and you're bought into that employee's home life as well.
So, so to bring us all together, Jamie, when she was introducing herself, used the phrase "win-win-win," and that is a perfect phrase. It really is a win-win-win solution. You, the employer, win because you can improve your talent recruitment, your talent retention, and your productivity. The data supports that, what Marcus just shared. And best of all, you reinforce the idea that you're family friendly in today's competitive labor market. For the childcare provider, it's a win. They are able to grow their business because now we can enroll in families that may not have been able to afford the childcare. And it makes it easier to operate a business. If you know with certainty that the cash is going to come into your business same time every month, that allows you to operate that much more efficiently. And for the parent, it's a win because that parent can reduce the cost of their childcare tuition on average between 25% to 75%. And most important, what that means is getting to stay in one's job or get back to work because you know that your children, the most important thing to you, are safe, happy, and growing in a nurturing environment. So what I'd like to do now is sort of, kind of get away from the slides and the processes and really give Scott and Jamie a chance to sort of talk about, their familiarity with West Virginia, their decision process, and sort of why they've chosen to become a part of this. So, Jamie, did you want to go first?
Sure, that'd be great. So there's so many things I can talk about on this because not only am I a provider, but I'm also an employer. So when this was originally brought to me, I thought, okay, great. I'm going to try this as an employer because I have several employees who make too much money, so they don't get government subsidies to help pay for childcare, but they certainly don't make enough money to pay for childcare. So that's part of their package with me, but I'm not making any money out of it. So when you all came to me and said, hey, we can do, 33.3% each way, and you could probably get some money from this, I thought, fantastic, because on average, we're losing anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 a year income because we have employees who need childcare and they don't make enough to have that government subsidy. So with that being said, I was like, okay, great, let's go from there. But then from a provider standpoint and seeing all of my clients, I have 189 clients, we have 48 employees, and it doesn't matter how much money you make, childcare is expensive. It's anywhere from $10,000, maybe even to $20,000 a year per child. So if you have multiple children, you're paying anywhere from $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year. So I think this is a fantastic program for those parents who fit, they are not making a ton of money, or they're not able to get on government subsidies to pay for childcare. So I'm seeing it from both standpoints of the provider and also the employer. So I'm very new to this. I just signed on last month. So I'm in phase 4. We're getting some of my employees actually enrolled in this. So I'm super excited about it. I just think it's something that is going to be so beneficial. So if you are an employer on this Zoom call right now, seriously think about it, because when you were talking, Marcus, about $150 a month, $18,000 or $1,800 a year, that's 86 cents a day that you can keep a valuable employee and help them with childcare. So, just kind of play around with your numbers. I know everybody has to work on a budget. But this is crucial. And if you want to continue to be able to pull great, employees, future employees in here, we've got to have quality childcare. And that's a whole different ballgame because we do have, we're very limited on our childcare here. But I think if we have more programs like this, we're going to be able to see maybe more quality programs coming in. So, we've been around for 36 years. We absolutely adore and love what we do. We have great staff, great clients, plan on being around hopefully at least another 36 years. And I'm just super excited to be a part of this program. I just think literally it is a win-win-win. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks.
Scott, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, hey folks, Scott Drake again. We're I imagine a lot of people on the call probably know Steve, John, and I. We're AGD Collective Works. We're a small shop. We have 8 employees, and it's actually as of about a month ago, 2 of those employees now have babies under 13 months old, and then we have a couple others that are under elementary school age. So, you can't tell by looking at the gray hair, but we do have some kid connections and very small kid connections out there. And it's wild being a small company, and we've got a very open floor plan. We hear it, we see it every day with our employees that have small kids. If someone is late, there's a pretty good chance it has to do with the drop-off issue or taking some kids somewhere. It impacts people. We see productivity drop, and no fault of the employee, but they just all of a sudden have something that's a lot more important than work, as it should be, that they're focusing on. And we hear it, we see it, we monitor it. We want to be more actively involved, and really that's how this got started. And the fact that we've lost employees that have added a child to their family, or in one case an adoption, and they're doing what they need to do, and it totally makes sense. But as an 8-employee organization, losing one person is unbelievably disruptive. So it's not only, the recruiting and finding and training of that person, it might take us a year even to get back to level if we lose an employee. So, it can be tough. The challenge I see as a business owner, and I really want to take a minute to talk about this, because if we've got other owners and HR people out there, is, we know problems are there with childcare, and we know other problems exist, but we're often so inundated with people that want to help us. And, I put those air quotes in helps. How many emails, how many postcards, how many phone calls, how many things do we get about, taking HR off your plate and hiring a new health insurance company or a new bank or whatever? We're almost inundated to the point that we're paralyzed to look at stuff. But I can tell you that in all that noise of all these professional organizations and firms, trying to sell us services, when we saw Wonderschool, we saw 2 things that really got our attention. We saw partnership with the SBDC, and we sort of saw that as a kind of like good housekeeping check mark. And then we saw that funding was from ARC, and we've worked in and around the ARC and with the ARC for years. So, we literally started paying a little bit more attention. So we decided to kind of lift up the hood and look around. And the more we saw, folks, the more it just made total sense with us, because we looked at it this way. If we're looking at, we try to do yearly pay increases, adjust compensation, we try to be very dynamic in the way we're helping employees. I've got 2 young employees that have kids. If I'm thinking about compensation, this allows me to match every dollar I invest in them with a dollar from the state and the ARC. So, if I'm investing X, and as an employer, I can pick that number. I can put $100 a month towards their childcare, or 1,000, depending on that scale that Jason shared with you. That gets multiplied and essentially doubled for many employees. So, it's hard to look at any other options for compensation and find something where I'm going to get a 1-to-1 match, where the dollars I put in, my employee is going to feel a 2X on that. So that was one heck of a sales point. And also, this may sound selfish as an employer, but there's no more motivating force in a parent's life than their kids. If we want to have a good relationship with our employees, if we want to focus on retention, if we want our employees to understand that we care, that we know the challenges they're going through, there's not a better avenue than say we want to help you with childcare, because that is the warmest, softest, most important thing going on, in their life. And thank goodness we've got people like Jamie and others in Kanawha County that offer fantastic services that we know. We put $1 in, Wonderschool matches $1. They find someone like Jamie, and kids are taken care of, kids are safe, parents have one less thing to worry about. And again, selfishly, we get a little bit more attention from that employee because many of those other things are taken care of. So it's like super simple to get started too. There's a simple form online. You fill it out. I think it's 4 or 5 questions. I believe the next day, someone from Wonderschool reached out to me with a couple emails and then a phone call. You do some simple onboarding in an online dashboard, and again, phone calls if needed, but you can set it up in no time at all, and you can start donating and not donating, contributing to the child care employees. And as an owner, again, selfishly, I love bringing employees in and saying, "Hey, we want to talk to you about something," and sharing something like this with them, and having those two young parents come in and say, "Hey, we understand what you're going through. We want to be an active part of this. We want to help, and here's what we're doing." Smiles from ear to ear, a couple questions, but those folks were bought in. They got it, and it really helped them understand that we care about what they're going through. So that's where we are in the journey too. We're sort of new to the program, but I'll be glad to answer any questions in the Q&A section coming up about any of the things I've gone through to get to where I am today. So thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Really appreciate your comments. We are going to do, Scott mentioned sort of how easy it is. I'm going to share essentially like a 2-minute video that just sort of walks you through that. And then I'm going to essentially open this up because I see there's some questions in the chat. I have some questions for Scott and Jamie, and I want to make sure we spend some time on that. So let me just play this. You should all be able to hear it. And this is really sort of just how easy it is to get involved. This is 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm going to walk you through the West Virginia TriShare platform. Once an employer has gone through the initial onboarding process where they sign their contract and they have an understanding of the program, they will be directed to this page in order to sign up for an account for the platform. The platform is where they can add employees and determine the amount they're going to contribute each month for each employee. Simply click on create an account. I'm signed in here, so I'm actually just going to go to this tab to show you what it looks like. Just do first name, last name, the email address, and your company name. And then once you've done that, you'll get a confirmation code, and then you'll be able to sign in with your account. To sign in, just do your email address, hit get confirmation code, and you'll get a 6-digit code that you'll put in there to sign in. Once you're signed in, this is the view that you'll see. Very easy to navigate. To add employee, you just click on add employee. You add a first name, a last name, an email address, and whatever your monthly contribution will be, and hit confirm. That employee will show up in here, and it'll have the status of pending. An email comes to us that allows us to check things out and make sure everything looks good, and then we approve that, and then the employee will show up here as approved. The very first time an employee is added, you click on this view button here, and you want to click on this button to add payment information. So again, this is just the very first time you click on that. You'll get a Stripe form that will allow you to put in your ACH bank information, bank account information. All of our payments are via ACH bank transfers, and they happen on the 7th of each month, and we use Stripe to process those payments. So we do that there. And then once that happens, then at any point, can change the amount that you pay for an individual employee. If you want to pay more or less a month, you can change that at any time. Or if an employee moves on or they no longer get childcare, you can remove them at any time as well. So that's the basics of the platform and how it works, designed to be very easy to use.
Right. Thank you, Peter.
Hello, I'm going to...
Oops. All right. So let me just sort of wrap it up with next steps. As Scott said, it's a very simple initial interest form. It takes under 5 minutes, and we're already live. We're already making payments on behalf of employees. So we're ready for you. And to close this out, and I think this is being recorded, as Kaylin said, and it'll be on the site. But if you are looking for more information, you can send an email to the TriShare email address there. You can also send an email to me personally. I am eager to meet with each and every person on this event who wants to speak about this. And to see the webpage, just Google West Virginia TriShare, and you can learn everything that we talked about and more. So on that note, I'm going to stop sharing, and I want to go to the Q&A because I see there were some questions that let me just quickly take a look at the questions. Okay, so a question from Melanie: will the slides be available after the presentation? Yes, this whole event recording will be made available. There's a question from Jennifer: is there a family size to go along with income guidelines? The answer to that is no. It's a great question. As Marcus mentioned, different TriShare programs in the states are a little different, and some do have specific family size guidelines that go along with it. In our case, we have pegged everything to annual household income. Here's I have business locations in 3 of the 8 counties. Can my employees who work in neighboring counties also participate? Example, can my workers in Cabell County participate? This question is a great question. It comes up often, and it's one that it's hard to give sort of a complete yes or no. It's going to depend really on sort of where you as an employer are based and where employees do the bulk of their work. We have an employer who is looking to participate, and while the employees work in lots of different counties, all of payroll, everything goes to their main office, which is in Kanawha County. And we spoke to SBDC, and they said that's completely acceptable. We have another employer who's looking to get involved, and they have employees in different places. They have a team that does work in Boone County, but their like office is not in Boone County, and it's in a non-pilot county. And again, SBD said, given that they do the bulk of their work in Boone County, they're eligible to participate. So I think the headline here is reach out to me and let's figure out your specific situation. But everybody is sort of ultimately looking to say, how can we make this money available, not how can we prevent the money from being shared. There's a question I got that I'd like to perhaps put to Jamie and Scott, and that question is, how do you decide which employees to support? Right? If you're not going to necessarily do it for everybody, like as an employer, is that a tough decision, or how do you think about that, or how do you even message it in your company if it's not something you're making available to everyone? Does either of you want to speak to that?
Well, I'll speak of it. I only have 3 who I know of who need the assistance and could use it. The rest of them either get federal funding through, Connect, excuse me, or Link. I think that's an easy question. You just offer it to anybody who has children, and then they can submit the information, and if they qualify, fantastic. And then you just decide what salary base you want to participate in.
Yeah, and I think I kind of echo what Jamie said, that I've owned several businesses, and I learned a long time ago that there really are no secrets in compensation between employees, and trying to say we're going to do something here or something there. Often those stories get told anyway. So we were proud to take it to all the staff. We knew the family dynamics of our staff, so we knew what we were getting into. But for a large organization, I would tie it back to compensation increases, because I'm sure large organizations look at compensation on different times for different departments or different level workers or other things. If you're having a conversation at all about an employee, and they have a child that would bring this into play, again, you're getting a force multiplier, a dollar multiplier, if you do compensation through this path.
Thank you both. Brittany asked a question, do higher education institutions qualify? Yes, they do, so long as they operate in one of the 8 counties. Melanie asked a question, how long will the grant last? So the grant is through August 31st, 2026. As we mentioned earlier, it is, our full intent to push to work with the chamber, to work with other parties, to push to make this, like we saw in Michigan, Kentucky, and North Carolina, something that extends beyond the grant. But I think this also raises a question. I'll put it back again to sort of Scott and Jamie, which is this is a pilot, and nobody wants to be in a position of extending a benefit that could potentially get taken away. Yet you've chosen to sort of proceed. And so how did you kind of weigh that decision?
We said almost those exact words, Jason. We open in a very, open, honest environment. We said this is a pilot project. We knew what the date was going to be. In our situation, we would probably make up the difference. So, if something happened, we would keep it going forward. But I can't stress enough, just being honest with the employees, let them know that this is out there and we're going to do everything we can to make it work. And we'll talk through, all the details with you. And if we see something changing, we'll let you know. So I think just being clear and transparent about it's the only way to do it.
I agree with Scott on that. My situation is a little bit different. I am also the provider. So the employees that I have, we were compensating them 100% on their childcare. So we were already it was just going to be good for us regardless. And so if it lasts a year, fantastic. If it's 6 months, great. I would love to see the program continue because I think so many in our community really need this. To working parents, a single working parent who just make too much money to receive any kind of benefit. I mean, this is a difference between, paying bills or childcare. It's very hard. I see a lot of our clients struggling day to day. And, so I think a program like this would be amazing. So I just hope it continues.
Couple more questions. Is there a fee for childcare providers to participate? There is no fee. While we as an employer are in an eligible county, we have several employees who utilize childcare facilities in Ohio. Are they still eligible? Yes. From an eligibility perspective, it only matters where the employer is based. The childcare can be anywhere, including out of state. Jill asked a question, will additional counties be approved at some point in the future? To my earlier comments, everybody on this call and we've been having a lot of conversations with state legislators and other folks are pushing for the answer to that to be yes. There's nothing we can sort of say with certainty at this moment, but I think there's a lot of people, up and down the aisle that are sort of looking at this and looking for momentum so that they can make a case that this should be something that should be expanded to other counties, like in Michigan, like in Kentucky, like in North Carolina. Can you confirm, Margaret asked, can you confirm that your funding is coming through ARC? How many years with the grant? It is through ARC with a state match, and that grant is through August 31st, 2026. Marcus, we got the question. I don't know if you know offhand, how many children in Michigan have been served with the 3.5 million yearly?
I did back of the napkin math when I saw that question come in, so bear with me for just a second. So it's important to know that in Michigan, the funding is done differently. It's not the employer gets to decide how much. It's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 down the middle. And so it's very prescriptive. In Michigan, the average cost of childcare is $837 a month for a family. So that's businesses pay $279, the state pays $279 a month. And so we can, with that $3.4 million, it can serve up to 1,015 kids. Like I said at the beginning of this presentation, Michigan opened this program up in 2020 4.5 years ago, and they have now just hit the 1,000 kid mark at one time. And so it is a slow growth program, but we think we can take those lessons learned in Michigan and North Carolina and actually make that a faster growth program here in West Virginia.
Jamie, there's a question. what are the projected financial benefits for childcare providers? How would you answer that?
Well, if you have, if you're also an employer and a provider. So if you're an employer, the benefit is you're getting paid for your employees' children, which originally you weren't unless they were receiving Connect or Link benefits. I was just kind of doing napkin, myself. So the 3 employees that I have who don't pay for childcare now, being on this program, we're going to probably get about maybe $12,000 for the year. So right there, that's a benefit for us. As far as being a provider, a childcare provider, the financial benefit is knowing the income's going to come in. I think as a childcare provider, sometimes you're chasing money from employees who or clients who are maybe behind. This might help them because it's going to help their budget a little bit better. And you're also going to know you're going to get this amount in every month. So it's a guaranteed amount that you're going to be getting. So I think from that standpoint, being like, if you're coming from a smaller center, or if you just have a handful of full pay clients and then most of them are Connect, it's just like getting your Connect money. You're going to get it in every month and you know what amount is going to come in every month. So you can budget better for that. So yeah, I just think it's a win-win for providers as well. So I don't think we have anything to lose or be scared of, because you're not going to lose the money. The money's going to be there and it's going to come in. So.
Anyone, if we can just go a couple more minutes, there's a few other questions here. Brittany asked if employees get this from multiple children, or is it a lump sum? So that's to be worked out by your employer, what they choose to do. But for an employer who says, yes, I want to support you, I'm just making this up, I want to support you, Brittany, for both your children, that is completely fine. And essentially, as part of the enrollment process, you would be the parent. We'd indicate the children who are going through, and payments would be made for both of those children, and that would be sent to the provider. Scott, you have a question here. As an employer, any issues with your employees who don't have children, knowing that their coworkers are receiving additional funding support from the employer, from you?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think there's any issues really for 2 reasons. And one, because, we're talking about people's kids. And again, we're an open footprint office here. We have kids running down the hallway. Like, everyone knows everyone's families. And I think everyone's thrilled if some help is there. Now, that being said, it's all about balance when you have employees too. So, if we're offering any sort of compensation adjustment to a group of people, we will find other ways to compensate, the other group that doesn't qualify for it. So I think it's about just finding balance.
T asked, do municipality, local governments qualify as an eligible business entity if they operate in one of the 8 counties? The answer is yes, they do. Margaret asked, in Michigan, did you see evidence of sort of growth in employment, or, like what outcomes has Michigan been able to point to?
Yeah, so there's one example of a business in Michigan that actually had 80% turnover rate as an employer. And when they offered TriShare, their turnover rate pretty much ceased. It stopped. And that's one example, but that's where I think TriShare really is beneficial to those high turnover type positions. If you're an employer that has multiple types of positions, like a hospital system, you might have departments that just naturally have a higher turnover. And so it allows you to look at those rates, and maybe this is a department specific type of program. But to Scott's point, you also might want to consider that those employees will talk, and that you should think about other types of compensation. So yes, so the answer is yes. We have seen employers in Michigan that have seen significant increase or a significant reduction in turnover rate. And actually some employers who, when they're hiring, they advertise on the radio saying, and we participate in TriShare, and it actually helps them get applicants.
Thank you, Marcus. All right, last questions here. Are families permitted to use multiple providers? For example, a backup provider if the child center care center is closed for sickness or a holiday? Miranda, that's a great question. Marcus, do you recall how that was how that's been handled in other states?
Sorry, I missed that question.
If a child care center is closed and they need to use backup care for a day, how that has been handled in other states?
So backup care would qualify in a state like Michigan. That is allowed. We would obviously have to work through with the provider. As Jason's point, the payment goes out every month at the same date. So we would have to, on our end, as Wonderschool facilitating that, we would take that burden on to navigate.
Anonymous question. Someone would like to participate but earns over the threshold for state subsidy. May they still participate in the program and still receive the employer assistance and pay the balance through the Wonderschool platform? This is, I know Marcus loves this question. So in some states, that is not permitted. In West Virginia, and again, with sort of an emphasis on trying to make something as employer friendly as possible, that is permitted. Again, it just has to be up to your employer that they, want to do that. But from a sort of administration perspective and from SBDC's perspective, we are agnostic and ultimately believe the more employees that can benefit from this, the better. All right, I think, Kaylin, I think I'm going to turn it back to you. I think I got through everything. Please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jason, Marcus, Scott, Jamie. You have been absolutely wonderful for sharing your time and extra time, the information, the testimony, the contact information, and just being available for all of these really important conversations here that we're having in West Virginia. So we're happy to have you. For everyone on the call, thank you for joining us. This will be posted on wvchamber.com under the Business Academy section. We'll also be posting it on our YouTube page. So in case you missed anything, it will be available there. And we just thank you so much for joining, and we hope to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.